Alright, welcome to video number 4 of building a QuickShifter. In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect the sensor, this sensor, and also how to detect the signal. We're also going to send the signal to my phone so you can see it. So we're going to have to add Bluetooth connectivity to our QuickShifter. We're also going to add connectivity for the throttle by using a potentiometer, since that is what the throttle sensor is. But before we do that, let's make a correction. On the last 3 videos, I said that this 10K resistor was supposed to be connected to the collector of the IGBT. It's not supposed to be connected to that. It's connected to the 12-volt line. So if you have it here, it'll act a little weird. It'll still work, but it'll be weird. So that out of the way, let's look at how the potentiometer works. Since that is going to be our throttle. Oh, by the way, the Bluetooth connectivity is going to be through an HM11 module. So those are like $4 online. So the potentiometer has 3 legs, 1, 2, and 3. The 2 on the side, one of them has to be connected to 5 volts, and the other one to ground. The middle one is the knob that, as you rotate it, the middle pin, the wiper, goes up and down, creating a voltage divider. So the output will give you a different voltage depending on where it's at. And this pin is going to be connected to our processor to emulate the throttle. So how we're going to connect this, show you. It will be connected to we are going to connect our sensor to pin number 23, which is ADC0, and the throttle to pin 24, which is ADC1. This is the, as you can see right here, this is the documentation for the ATmega 328P. This is a cheap processor, like $1.50 or something like that, but it's good enough to make a QuickShifter. So let's get started. So before we do anything, we have to enable the Bluetooth connectivity on our sensor. So let's do that. So let's see, to that Bluetooth, the HM11 is connected. You can communicate with it using serial communication, which is this universal serial something something port. The documentation comes with sample code that you can use, just copy and paste, and you should be able to have it up and running in no time. So we can just go here to, where is it? USRT multi-process sample baud rate, data transmission, initializing. So let's initialize the serial communication, and this is the function you can just copy and paste, and it should function without any modifications. So we are going to go and paste it here. Let's comment this out. And we also need a, oh, by the way, when you initialize that, you call this function and it's going to ask you for a number to specify the baud rate. We'll get that in a minute. We also need a function to send data. Here's an example of how to send a single character. So let's copy that. There it is. And we just have to change this to say it's going to be on serial port 0. So just change the lowercase n to 0. So that's it. Good to go. So since we don't want to send one character at a time, we want to be able to send a full message, we need to add our own function so we can take a string and loop through it and send one character at a time uh, in a function. So to do that, we need to add a couple of files. This one will give us access to this function, which is to just put strings together, concatenate strings together. We also need the standard lib. This will give us access to that function, which is to convert a value to a string. So we can convert it and then use this one to put it along with the message. So we need to, first we need to initialize um, our serial communication by calling this function. And in here, um, it'll give you, here it is, it'll tell you what value to give it. So we're looking for the setting for 9600 baud rate. And these are the settings that we're looking for. We're looking for this one here, but this is for 2 megahertz processor, and we're running it at 20 megahertz. So we just have to go down and find the 20 megahertz setting. For this is the third one from the list, 129. So let's go call it. That will initialize our processor. I'll put my phone right here. So now let's create a function to send the message. So let's see. And we are going to pass an array or a pointer to a string. So we're just going to call it data. Hold on, my light just turned off for some reason. Okay. And what it's going to do is we are going to loop to that pointer. Make sure we have a valid character. That equals 0. So if we do have a valid character, we want to send it. So we're going to use this function to send it, and we're just going to say whatever data is pointing to whatever character. At the same time, we're going to increment it to the next character. So that should allow us to send data. So why don't we call the function here? It's going to say send message. We're going to call it throttle, give it a number, and it requires a separate line to tell it that this is the end of the message. This is just for the phone to know that it's time to display it. So we turn it on. Let me compile it. Before I compile it, let me show you. So there's my phone. It's connected right now. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's a blue light right here, right there. So if I turn it off, you'll see that it gets disconnected. The blue light went away, and this is gonna say disconnected in a minute. So there it is, disconnected. So let's power up, and let me send the code to our QuickShifter. Give it a minute. There it goes. And there it is, throttle 100. This number here is just incrementing every time I get a message. So you can see that it's not, well, I'm not getting messages that often, and that is because in this loop I have two delays, a delay of 2 seconds and then a delay of 1 second. So it's every 2 seconds that I'm receiving a message. So let's comment that. Oops. Hold on, as you can see, you can't see that. Um, so the reason it takes forever is because those lines, I just commented them. Those lines there, uh, they have a 2-second delay and a 1-second delay. So every 3 seconds inside this loop, it sends a message because of these lines. So let me comment them out again. I'll send the code once more, and as soon as it gets transferred over, you'll start seeing the message increment really quickly. So there it goes. So now you can see this number going really fast. However, the one here is not really changing. It's just a throttle 100 because we're just sending a string. Nothing's changing. So let me disconnect it. Let me go back to my development view. So let's add the code to detect the two sensors. So again, what we're going to do is we are going to connect two sensors, one to ADC0 and one to ADC1. The sensor for shifting and the throttle right here on this one. So how do you enable that? Well, we're going to use the ADC, which is the analog to digital converter. So what this does is it takes a voltage and it will convert it to a number that we can send to our phone and use it later. So let's go see how we enable that. All right, so this is our first register that we're going to have to modify. This is the multiplexer. We need to specify a voltage reference to use it as a way to tell the how much voltage we're getting. So we're going to use whatever is connected to the pin A, B, C, C. So to enable that, we need to set this flag to 1, which is this one here. We also need to tell it which of the pins is going to be enabled. So we're going to start with ADC1, this one here. So to enable that one, we need to set this one to 1. So that will give us the first reading of the sensor. So let's go and enable that part. We're going to do it right here. And we say it's going to be ref 0. And that one as well. Now, what else do we need to do? We also need to modify this register, and this is to enable it, to enable the interrupt, also to enable the ADC to start converting, and to start our conversion. So we're gonna set this flag, which is enable the ADC. We're gonna set this flag as well. This is to enable the interrupt. So whenever there's a conversion ready for us to go read it, this will fire and then we'll go read it. So let's go and set this one. And the flags are AD enable. And the other one is AD interrupt enable. We also need to set the division factor. How often do you want to have a conversion? Well, I want the longest delay possible. I don't want to convert it that often because then you start getting false readings because the voltage hasn't settled. So we're going to use 128. So we need to set all these 3 flags to 1 on that same register. So this 3 at the beginning. So ADPS2 through 0. So it's 2. Okay. And we need to start the first conversion by setting this to 1. That's this flag, which is single conversion. So ADCS. Okay. Now we need to add the function that is going to fire when the interrupt is called. So this is ISR, and this is the ADC vector, and same with every ISR that we're doing, no blocking. And we are going to create a global variable as an integer, I Coil, and we're going to capture the value of the voltage here and store it in that variable, ABC value. And then we have to call the next conversion, so we go back and call this one. AD conversion, and we have to specify this again. So every time you need to change or enable something, you need to call it again. So that will give us the reading of the throttle. So now that means that we can send this to the phone, and we should see it changing every time we rotate the potentiometer. So let's go ahead and do that. So, oh, by the way, before we can use that, we need to add another function so that it takes a message and also it takes a value and it puts it together. So let's do that. Let's add a second one. Set message. It's gonna have the same data, and it's gonna have the new value. So let's define our message. 255. S value. Let's make it 10 since it's just a number. So now we're going to use this function to convert the value that came in into a string and put it on S value. So we're going to say I value and S value, and we're going to convert it to an integer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to format our message. So it's going to be strcat message data, and then another one to add the S value, and then we want to send the message, and that should do it. So it's going to call this function and then just loop through each one and send it over. So now we can go here and remove that number, and we should be able to add that throttle, and we should be able to see it on the phone. So let me send it to the phone. Let me change the view. If everything goes well, which we're gonna see. Oh, we gotta turn it on first. So you can see that the throttle is it's a very low number. It's going up and down because we don't have anything connected to it. So it's undefined. It's just whatever static energy is around it. It's just picking it up. So let's connect our potentiometer. I have the connections already set. I have 1 to 5 volts, 1 to ground, and then the middle one to the ADC 1. So let me power up again, and we should see a different value right here. So there it is. So now if I rotate this right here, you'll see the value change. There it is. All the way to 0. And all the way to 10,000. I mean 1,000. So 1023, which is 1024 in reality. So there it is. So now let's add more code, this time to test the sensor or both of them at the same time. So now we're going to enable the ADC0. So since this is a multiplexer, you can only read one uh, connection, one sensor at a time, one pin at a time. So what we need to do, let me go back to my display. So what we need to do now is we need to modify this function. So we'll read the throttle, and then we'll set the sensor to be read the next time around, and then once we read that, we'll go back to the throttle. We'll just keep alternating between the two sensors. So what we want to do is we want to say right here, if 0, actually it's like this. If that one is equals to 1, that means that we're reading the throttle. And what we want to do is, if we're reading the throttle now, we want to set it up so we well, I guess I can, yeah, I should be able to do that. So now it's going to remove the value for MUX0 and it's going to go back to ADC0. So let's put this, else you can safely assume that the next one is going to be ADC0. And we are going to enable 1 again. And on this one, we're going to have a different variable, sensor. So when it comes here, you're going to read it, store it on the throttle, you're going to enable ADC0, and then next time around, it'll come here, we'll keep it in the sensor, and then it'll enable ADC1 with this flag, and then you're going to go back to this one, it'll just keep going back and forth. So now what we can do here is we can send both of them shift sensor, and let me see. Let me connect the sensor first. Well, let me send the code. No errors. Let me show you the phone. So there comes the data. So now we have the shift at the top and the sensor at the bottom. The shifter has a value because there's nothing connected to it, so whatever voltage it may be present there, it'll just pick it up. So let's connect the sensor itself. Oh, let me put it back in, put it back on. So I don't know if you can pick that up, but there's a bar right here, right there, and that bar moves with this number. So let me share my screen so you can see it. So there's my phone. This is the value that is coming across. from here, from this sensor, because there's no real value. Make this a little smaller. And the throttle is 0 because, obviously I need to turn this around. It's actually going to the wrong one for some reason. The throttle, the shift, my sensor. All right, so let me connect the sensor and see what we get. Let me see if this is gonna adjust correctly or not. All right. Here it comes. All right, there it is. Let me turn it off. Connect one pin to ground. Okay. One pin to voltage. And the other wire, the output wire, goes to ADZ0. And let's see what we get. um, the shift sensor is not working for some reason. Hold on. Let me see why not. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Oh, that's because I have the wrong thing here. So let me swap back the way you had it before. Let me program it. All right, so there's your throttle at the bottom. It changes when I rotate the potentiometer. And the shifter itself, if I press on it, you can see it changes. So this bar right here, this is the sensor. So whenever I press it, it moves up. If I pull on it, it goes down. So we have these two bars, this bar here and this bar here. So let's send that over as well, so we can put it in. You can have the green bar in between, and then we can use those two bars as reference to see when we're supposed to shift. So let's send that over. It's gonna be up, down. And since we know that the value is around 500, we can say that up is going to be, let's say, 530, and down is going to be 475. See what that looks like. So you'll see the bars come in between, not in between, but around this bar right here. So just give it a minute. Come on, there it goes. So now you see the two bars. If I press on the sensor, it goes past it. If I pull it, it comes back. Maybe this one should be 80, and this one should be 40. All right, so there it is. Press it, pull it. Um, Go down, it goes up. Oh, apologies, it's the other way around. So press on it. Let's see. 70, 520. It's just fine tuning it. But anyway, so how can we use this? Let's connect the coil again and see if we can control it using this the sensor itself, so we can tell it when to fire. So there it is. Now it looks a little more centered. So I press it, comes down. We just want to be able to tell it it's firing. So let's enable what we had before, the original code. Let me send it over. And the update is going to be a lot slower every 3 seconds. Let's wait till it comes across. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Alright, so there it is. It's updating really slow. You can tell, really, really slow. So let me change my view so you can see what we're gonna do here. Let me change it. There we go. Alright, so there's my phone. You can't really see the. Let's see if I can lower this. Make it brighter, maybe. It doesn't work. Anyways, maybe at an angle you should be able to see the bar. Yeah, not really. Okay, so let me connect my shifter again, my coil. And you should see the coil firing right here as a spark plug. And if we will see on the screen, there it is, it's firing. Every 2 seconds it expands a little bit. I'll make this a bit more visible. So there it is. So we want to increase the gap so we can delay it a little bit more. So when we go on in and try the sensor, it'll be more visible. So let's put 1.8. Okay, hold on, still trying to send it. Let's try again. Didn't work. Hold on. All right. Sometimes it doesn't want to compile when this thing is firing. It doesn't want to communicate. So let's see. Let us try again. Okay, still not doing it. All right. So there it goes. This time it went. So let's see what it does now. What am I missing here? Oh, this thing got disconnected. Hold on. Alright, so there it is. You know, make it wider, a little bit longer. Actually, it didn't. Why not? Alright, send it again. Oh, it's because we have this to say that the maximum is 80. So let's put 100. Going, hold on, it's moving. Alright, we should see it now. So there, the gap in the go is almost twice the size. So what was the issue? Let me show you. So the issue was this line that I had it limited to, this one I had it limited to 80, so it couldn't go wider. So all right, so now let's test the sensor. So what we're gonna do is we are going to replace this code. Actually, we're gonna move this code as well to a function. So let's move it out, and we're just gonna call it update phone, and it's gonna go there. So we can say update phone. We're also gonna comment this out. Oops. And we are going to say if what do we have? 520. So if IG sensor is actually it's the other way around. Is below 470. Is below 470. Then we are shifting. So we are saying this go the other way around. We're gonna set shifting to true, and we're gonna delay for 1 second, and you should see uh, the coil hold it for just one second, only when it's firing, only when the sensor is pressed. Sorry. So let's compile it. Let me share my phone. All right, so there is my phone. You can see the green bar is right in the middle. So they send it? Not yet. Not yet. Hold on. Yeah, it's probably complaining because it's too noisy. I don't have any capacitors there to filter out the noise. I'm gonna add a couple. see, 24. Let me disconnect this thing probably once again. All right, did it send it? Yeah, it sent it. So now you can see that the coil is stable. Um, you can see that it's at 3 milliseconds. So if we look at the phone here, when this bar right here moves at this red line, we're gonna see the coil fire longer. So it's gonna be delayed. So let's press on the sensor. And again. Oh, what am I missing? Is it working or not? It got stuck somehow. So there you can see it firing. There it is again. There it is again. So when I press it, um, if I press the sensor, it fires. Right? If I pull it at the bottom, nothing happens, obviously, but at the top, fires. And you can see that the phone stops updating because it's just waiting. There's nothing here. So what we can do in this instance, we can put a loop. We can say for n I wait equals 0. I wait is less than let's say 1000. Let's say 1020. So let's say 20. And what we want to do is we want to update the phone here, and we also want a delay of 50 milliseconds. So you will have roughly the same 1 second delay. It just has to go 20 times, so we can see the phone updating even when we're firing. So just waiting for the code to go through. Alright, and let me change the display. Let me leave the phone here on the side. Hold on. Did I update? Yeah. Alright, so here's the sensor. I'm going to press on it on both ends. You'll see the green bar on the phone go up. Fire. It keeps updating. Fire. Keeps updating. Fire. So if I pull on it, it goes the opposite way. If I rotate the potentiometer, you see the throttle going up and down. Right, there it is. Again, the sensor, you press it, it goes back to the middle. Press it, fires. Press it, it fires for a little more than a second. Press it, it fires. So there it goes. That's all it is. We just had to enable the ADCs to read the sensors. We had to enable the interrupts to be able to read them. We added Bluetooth so we can send it to the phone. So that's all I have. So the next video, we're probably gonna uh, do the full QuickShifter or the schematic with the two coils, all the sensors. We're gonna be detecting uh, the throttle, the sensor. We're also gonna be detecting the gear because depending on which gear you are, you need a different delay. And that's it. So have fun.